Anything inappropriate towards a child. It could be, touching, it could be rape, it could be exposure, it could be solicitation, it could be watching pornography with a child. It's any of those kinds of things. And we're going to talk about how do I overcome this damage. And so the first thing that I want to just talk about right now is like, what were the signs? So let's start with the two of you. What were the signs that something was wrong or that something had happened?
I'll start. So I actually grew up Mormon. So just a key point there, which purity and having worth in that realm was very, very everywhere. My parents would wear the garments that were supposed to protect purity, and I'd see them walk around with those on all the time. But I think I grew up not believing that I was sexually abused. Actually, that was the one abuse I thought I had been spared. And even my other forms of abuse, I thought it hasn't affected me, So I'm a great person. I'm, goody, Molly Mormon, whatever they call it. And then I became a Christian. Yeah. And that continued. So actually only this year did I read the book that you recommended called The Wounded Heart. And there was like a checklist of things like the environment of like what you could possibly relate to like in this. And as I was reading the book, there were signs of like even physical manifestations of symptoms, pain, like I didn't know at the time, but like flashbacks, sense memories, different things that couldn't be explained. Why is this? Oh, and then the biggest thing, 3 stories I've written as a writer that looking back now over the space of 10 years, each dealt with themes of sexual abuse or like grooming or that feeling of like something like in that realm. And I was like, okay, now it makes sense. And it all started with the dream I had that led to the last story, which was very overt. It became more and more overt that this was dealing with the dark sexual abuse themes. And I thought I was just channeling it for other people who were abused that had read parts of it and were like, this is amazing, like I want to know how it ends so I can be like free. And I was like, oh good, God's using me to like help other people in this area. So those were some of the signs for me, as well as like chronic pain that was manifesting. So yeah.
Thank you, Sheila. How about you, Nicole?
I echo some of these things. For me, I was also someone that lived in a lot of denial about it. I only saw my part of the shame. I had a lot of flashbacks about things that I did with other kids or things that I struggled with, and I would hear voices of torment, which actually were from my abusers that I struggled with a lot, and I just displaced, well, there's something wrong with me. The biggest one that I dealt with was night terrors, and I've had night terrors for 20-some years, and I got to the point where I was having 4 a night, and that was something that I learned to cope with. The family would just it was something we were used to, so I never thought much deeper into those kind of issues until I had a first big flashback a couple years ago, and then I still didn't do anything with it, and then a couple months later I was rooming with a friend in Paris, and in the night she got so terrified from the sounds she was hearing from my room that she actually got a knife and went to the door because she thought I was being raped in the next room. And when she told me this terrified, I thought, well, it can't be that bad. Like, I called my husband and he was like, yeah, it's that bad. So I called the hospital. They did, I saw a neurologist, they did sleep studies, I was seeing a psychologist, and nothing was, like, they didn't know what it was. I was perfectly healthy in every other way. So for me, it wasn't until saying that I was abused that the night terrors just dropped. And now I only deal with them when new memories are coming out, then it kind of ramps up for me, and then it drops again after I have a new memory.
Wow. I so appreciate what you both shared. And I know for me personally, I also experienced a lot of sexual abuse growing up. But I know for me personally, it looked different for me. I think, sexual abuse doesn't have that perfect face. Everybody's story is different. The way the symptoms come up for everybody is different. Mm-hmm. For me, it was, a lot of acting out. I was very promiscuous. I was using drugs. I was a meth addict for 3.5 years. I was, dating a guy who tried to kill me, and I didn't remember a lot of my childhood, and I remember having this moment going, something's wrong. Right. Something is wrong. I'm clearly not dealing with something. There's clearly something that I'm missing here. And it was just that, like what you're both kind of sharing, but obviously for all of us it's different. It was that moment of saying, I need to look at what's going on here instead of running So, I really appreciate that because it's so true that there isn't that one way that everybody responds. There isn't that one family that everybody has. It's a different story for everybody.